Hello everyone and welcome back to Command. Today we'll pick something up that has been in the news recently and do some experiments with it. Within the last couple of days, a whole bunch of B2s have started to appear at Diego Garcia. I think we're at like 4 or 5 at the moment, which is a pretty significant part of their entire fleet. It's not perfectly clear what they're doing there. Might be for strikes against Yemen, might be for strikes against Iran. We don't really know. But the fact alone that they're there has sparked some comments from the Iranian side that they might want to preemptively strike the base. And I mean, you have to admit, these are some pretty juicy targets. So can they actually do that? Let's take a look. So Iran fields a pretty wide variety of different ballistic missiles. I have made a video about it a while back. More recently, there have been the two missile strikes against Israel, where they launched over 100 missiles. These were reportedly, for the most part, either modern versions of the Shahab family, like the Imad or the Ghadar, but also quite a few of the pretty modern Khyber-Shekan and probably also the Fatah. When it comes to their arsenal, these are probably the most modern missiles that they have. And they probably did pick those because they wanted to avoid civilian and in general human casualties, which they did manage. So yes, these things work and they are pretty accurate. If we take a look at the ranges a little bit, of course we're taking data from the command database again, which may not be perfectly accurate, but probably also not too far off. They will generally gravitate around like 1,000 nautical miles. We'll have a bit over 900 for the Imad. Ghadar, let's see, even below 900. The Khyber should be quite a bit more. Oh no, actually it's like 780. And then of course the Fatah, again like 755. Like pretty standard medium range ballistic missile stuff. So how far away is Diego Garcia? Yeah, that's 2,000 nautical miles. Holy crap, that is far. That's basically as if Russia wanted to strike Portugal or US East Coast all the way to the US West Coast. So this is definitely out of medium range territory. So is there something else that they can use? So we have to go even longer range, and one of the options that they have is the Qom-Shahar family, which are Hwasong 10 copies. These are liquid-fueled ballistic missiles. So the best Qom-Shahar that's in the game right now comes in at 1,600 nautical miles. Still only about 3/4 the way that we need to actually reach the archipelago, or the island rather, or atoll. So is there anything else that they could use? When it comes to aircraft, they do have fencers and they have their indigenous land attack cruise missiles. These come in at like 730 nautical miles range. Pretty impressive, but still with a strike radius of 600 nautical miles plus the 700 of the missile, this is still way off. Well, anything else? They have this weird converted freighter that can be used to launch missiles from. You can see it in action over here. But these are still pretty small missiles that might be... These are probably Fatehs or something, so we're talking about a couple hundred nautical miles. So this thing has no chance of getting anywhere close. It would get sunk 10 times over before it would be even remotely in range. So yeah, that's it, right? Story over. Iran can't strike the island, right? Well, not so fast. So it turns out the Iranians have a space program. They've been launching rockets for a while now with like a shoddy success rate. But the more recent Quasar, for example, with like a liquid-fueled first stage and solid-fueled second and third stage. First stage being like a hypergolic mixture. This thing basically looks like an old-school ICBM, and it had 3 successful launches. So if you can launch a satellite into space, you can technically build an ICBM. It does, however, not mean that you have functional ICBM capabilities, because the re-entry is a big problem. But it is very likely to assume that they do have prototypes for this. Probably not that many, and they probably also don't know if it works, since they haven't tested it yet. So, what can we use as a stand-in? So in order to stay with the North Korean theme, we'll take something from the Hwasong roster, and that would be the Hwasong 12. This one's liquid fueled, but don't worry about it. We'll have 12 of them in total. So just to give you a quick idea what we can expect from them. So we'll just launch one somewhere over here into the sea. So it's going to launch, it's going to make its ascent. Let's speed it along a little bit. And is that apogee? Not quite. But we're already at like 1.2 thousand kilometers in altitude. Just as a reference, like the ISS is orbiting at around 300 something. So this thing is very much in space right now. And when it comes back down, it's going to be in a hurry. So let's speed along a little bit so we can see what kind of speeds we can expect here. Yeah, now that it's falling, the numbers really start going up. Mach 12, Mach 13, and looks like that's more or less, yes, that's it. Okay, so yeah, this is basically an intermediate range ballistic missile. Okay, so now that we have something to do the strike, let's take a look at the defense. So when it comes to satellite imagery from Diego Garcia, the most recent stuff that we can see for free is from around 2023. If we take a look at the base really quick, you can see these nice little B2 shelters. But if you look at the base, there's really not that much there. I mean, there's this weird spot over here which looks like some kind of containerized item. But yeah, it's just a single one, so we're not going to worry about this too much. So we would expect the defense to be somewhere behind the object that it is defending. That can totally be just right next to the airfield itself. If we take a look at, for example, Kadena Air Base, the threats are coming from the west, and as a result, we can find Patriot installations on the eastern side of the airfield. Like this one over here. This one over here. And I think there was like a third one somewhere that I... Oh wait, there it is. Okay, found them. If we look at Diego Garcia, in contrast, there was nothing here in 2023. And even if we look at the recent satellite footage, which is not very like high resolution, but you can clearly see the B2s sitting right here. These areas over here that would be very well suited to put air defense still look pretty much empty. They do of course have a carrier strike group nearby. And it's very likely that they would at least detach one of the destroyers to cover the island or move the entire group closer to it. So this is something that we'll try out. Also, we'll try out just putting some Patriots and THAADs basically in the spots that we've identified as good candidates for air defense positions and see how they would perform. Okay, lastly, to shoot a ballistic missile, we first have to be able to see it, and we'll have to be able to track it. Since we're talking about something that's literally over 1,000 kilometers in altitude in space, we need some seriously long-range radars. And to be able to track it, we also need something with a pretty short wavelength. So ballistic missile radars often look something like this. This is the one in Britain, for example. If we go to Street View, you can see that it is bloody huge. Or of course you can use the good old SPX, which looks like this. There are some radomes at Diego Garcia, but nothing that looks anywhere close to the kind of radar that we would need for this purpose. So instead what we're going to do is we'll just fly in a good old TPY-2, which is part of the THAAD complex, but has also been used in Patriot and other applications. It's like it's pretty modern, and yeah, it's a mobile radar that is capable of tracking ballistic missiles, which it has to do because that is basically an anti-ballistic missile system. So we can see the missile and we can shoot the missile. Think we have everything. Let's shoot us some missiles. Alright, first round we'll go with only the naval option. We'll have an Ali Berg with ballistic missile upgrade right next to the island. It will be armed with 32 SM-3 missiles. SM-3 is the standard missile variant with an exoatmospheric interceptor. So let's switch over to Iranian side over here. We can start the clock really quick. We'll select our ballistic missile launchers. So the B2s are somewhere in these parking spots. We'll just, I mean, these things are not very accurate, so we're just shooting at the general area. Let's get all of them off the rail. Here they come. And then we'll switch over to the US side and see what they can see. Without God mode, obviously, they don't really see anything yet. This will take a while. Let's see at what distance they can actually detect them. But yeah, let's see how they deal with the Hwasong 12. Just speeding along a little bit. Still can't see anything. Let's... At some point it will pop up on the radar. Ah, here we go. Okay, let's stop time really quick. So we have identified it with the TPY-2, obviously. At an altitude of 500 kilometers, so it's already on its way down, like quite a bit. And at a distance of around, like what is that? Around 200 nautical miles to the target. And at this point, the destroyer should already be able to engage them. It has 5 seconds left until it is ready to fire, and it should do so automatically and engage the incoming missiles. Here come the interceptors. SM-3 is fired. Let's see how they will do. Each of the incomings will get, I think, around 2 missiles in this case. I think this is the target that we're trying to hit. This is like real time, by the way. Like, reaction times for this are maybe like a minute or something until the missile hits. And here come the first intercepts. Nope. Yes. Perfect. This one got trashed. Yes. Very good. And there's still a couple there. Okay, they didn't get all of them apparently. We still have three on the way. So we get a second round. We're already at like 150 kilometers. That's still pretty much out of the atmosphere. But it's going to be the last round of intercepts. Yes, and we got one. And can we get another one? Yes, we can. Oops. One got through. Okay, let's see. Will it hit one of our B2s? And... smack. Wait, where did it go? Did it malfunction? Okay, it just reported a miss. Oh well. That's that, I guess. Yeah, so that's the problem with these kinds of missiles, right? CEP is almost a kilometer, so yeah, that's the reason why you would usually put nuclear warheads on them. Like, they're not very accurate. So yeah, the SM-3 totally works in this context. It can usually intercept most of them. Sometimes we get leakage, as we've seen here. Like, you can oftentimes intercept many of them, but getting all of them is difficult. Let's move away a little bit from the naval side, and let's switch instead to a land-based system. Let's try out the THAAD. So where can we get a THAAD? There's one chilling over here in the Australian outback, so we'll just pick that one. We'll position it in one of those spots that we've identified. Would be nice if we could just see it on that satellite image, but apparently the Sentinel caught this part at a time when there was pretty heavy snow cover. Great for skiing. So we'll have the THAAD over here, has 48 interceptors, has its own radar, of course, so this makes this one kind of redundant, but yeah, we're not going to worry about this. Let's launch some missiles. Here we go again, missiles are on the way. Let's switch over to the US side. And again, we got the detection at around 200 nautical miles range. That should not change. We would expect the interceptors to come out much later this time, because the THAAD is very much more like a terminal intercept. So we're getting like very close here. So this is probably seconds before impact, maybe like 30 seconds or something. 200 kilometers altitude. This is when our THAADs start coming out. Let's see. Here they come. So if these don't hit, like, we kind of won't really get a second chance. Or maybe we will. I mean, this stuff can still hit very close to the ground, but yeah. And here come the intercepts. And can we get all of them? Yes, we can. Very nice. Yeah, so this has been pretty consistent. At the end of the day, that is designed for these kinds of threats. Just due to physics, it just won't perform as well against ICBMs, but anything below that category is fair game. I have to keep in mind, though, that Command tends to overestimate the success rates of air defense, so yeah. In none of these cases you can rule out leakage, but yeah. So that working very well. Let's turn it down a notch and try what a Patriot could do in this situation. Okay, last but not least, let's bring in a Patriot. Again, we conveniently have one that's configured correctly, just sitting there in Australia. Should be noted that I removed all the PAC-2 missiles, so it has only the PAC-3 missiles available. This way it can only shoot PAC-3s, which are probably best for this kind of target. Okay, let's see how the Patriot will do. Alright, same procedure as last time. Oops, I got a little bit too far here. Let's stop time. I mean, we detected them at pretty much the same time because it's the same radar, and we're engaging them at around 100 kilometers in altitude. Let's see. I mean, this is literally like 10 seconds before impact or something. Our interceptors are coming out. Let's see if they can catch a few of them. But yeah, like we are very close to the ground here. And at a casual Mark 14. Yeah, that doesn't look very good. And way they got a few, but yeah, we got a little bit pummeled here. Let's see. So some of them hit in the area, and we got a few hits on target too. Question is, did we lose any of the aircraft? Doesn't look like it. They're all still there. Yeah, and they also don't show up on the losses. So yeah, good old Patriot. It can engage them, but most of the missiles are getting through. This is also more or less, I think, what can be expected from a system like this. So yeah, again, this was very hypothetical, based on publicly available information. Iran doesn't officially field anything in that range category yet, so this might not even be possible at all. Diego Garcia is just really, really far away from everything. It is, like, the distances involved here are just crazy. And that also makes it quite safe, which is probably the reason why it seems like the US didn't even bother to move any air defense system there in advance. At least no ground-based systems that we can spot. Okay, so I hope you found this little experiment interesting. And yeah, hope to see you for the next one. Bye.